Okay, I'm with Richard Woods, who's an expert in social media. So I thought it was a great opportunity to ask you a few questions, Richard, about how we can use social media better. So why do you think it's such a powerful tool?
Social media really is just rising. We all know it's rising. I mean, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, everything's been going incredibly well on the social platforms, and more users go on there. In fact, Google just had 1 billion users in one day. Actually, was on the platform. Unbelievable. Wow. So you can tell this tide is going. Now the rest of the world is going to start catching up because of connectivity, but the UK is already there. So social media is massive at the moment. Everybody's there, everybody's using it. And in fact, on Facebook, the over 45 audience is the fastest growing audience. So it's not just a young person's thing, it's an older generation thing. More people are going to the platform percentage-wise if they are over 45. I think personally it's because of the rise of the mobile. So mobile internet and mobile data services is a lot faster. I mean, you being a technology man know that streaming and everything on a mobile is a lot easier these days with technology and connectivity. And so because of that, people are finding it a lot easier to access social media. And so when they look, if they're bored, if they're waiting for a train, a bus, or just at home, they'll go onto social media. And in fact, there's more searches on social media than there is actually on Google in the day. There's just more activity that's happening there. So that's been a big shift in the last year.
So how do you use it for business? I know I use it socially because I use it myself, but there's a real business driver for it, isn't it?
I think you've got to approach social media that the eyeballs are on there. I think when you talk about retail, they talk about chimney pots. So one of the indicators of where should you put a new retail store or where should you put a new petrol station, it would be where there's a lot of chimney pots, so density of population. Online, when it's social media, it's where are the eyeballs, where's the attention? And the attention at the moment is on social media. So to use social media as a platform to push your message out, it's just logical. It's just where the audience is. So there's lots of ways that you can do that. One of the really clever ways you can do that is through Facebook and through targeting. So you can do things like geo-targeting. So you can actually pop a pin in a location and actually just target that small location, which I think you were thinking that could be quite good for the housing sector.
Well, certainly, yeah. Housing associations need to sometimes just talk to certain communities. Maybe it's an event that's coming up or something like that. So it would make perfect sense to be able to advertise that locally rather than to every single member of the kind of tenant team.
So that's a really interesting thing. So for example, you're going to do an event within an estate for a housing association, and you say, right, I just need to get the message out to everybody that's there, but not everybody that you'll know that lives within that area, because it might just be one representative per property that you've got the details of. So if you dropped a pin, then anybody that was within that area geographically, even if they were just visiting, would be served an advert to say there's an event this weekend, there's a big community event at the community centre or whatever it is, and then they would pop up on Facebook and go, oh okay, it's interesting, there's a community event there. It's open to all, and so therefore people will be made aware of it, and it's a really useful way of being able to do that.
And am I right in saying you can also create Facebook groups? So for example, you can invite people to join a particular group, maybe it's a particular type of interest that they may have, and then you've got something that you can continually publish out to them to serve their needs.
Great, yeah, Facebook groups are brilliant, and also you can make them private groups as well, so people can ask to join a group and then you can verify to make sure that you're happy for them to join. So if you wanted just housing association tenants in a group for a certain area, then you could say by invite only or by application only, and then you'd be able to verify that they were each time you brought someone in. Another way of targeting is that you could actually upload a database to Facebook. So if you had a database of all your tenants, you'd be able to upload them to Facebook, you'd be able to create a set of adverts and actually position them and target them towards that database. Where this would work really well is if you were trying to sell additional services into that audience, or of course the events idea that we just talked about. I also quite like the idea of perhaps explainer videos and promoting that through social media. So for example, I know one of the challenges that the sector has is to get people to pay online, and so if you can target your tenants through Facebook with a little explainer video of, it's as easy as buying on Amazon as to pay for your tenancy online, and a little video around that might work really well, and people sort of see Amazon as being a one-click buy, so they would understand that as being quite an interesting thing. Oh okay, that's really as easy as Amazon, one-click buy, a little video, and you can just say, oh, okay, click, 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 uploads your details, it saves your details, and then before you know it, you're just paying for your rent each month. I see that as being a really easy way.
I agree, that sounds particularly pertinent at the moment. So there are obviously downsides with something like Facebook as well. I know some people have their fingers burned and they've shied away from it for these reasons. But I know also that social media has its challenges. So what are the kind of problems that people experience using the likes of Facebook?
I think if you're a brand and an advertiser or a housing association, you must remember that people do foresee this as being a social network, and you have to be sympathetic to that. So you can't go really bullshit with your advertising. I don't think you can be too in your face, but I think look upon yourself as a thought leader and helping. So explainer videos on how people might be able to do things more easily, or events that you want to promote are great ways of using social media. If you're trying to just sell something or really be a bit too like an advert that's like you're doing a newspaper, it's not going to work. It's not engaging enough. People love video on social media, people like pictures on social media, people like people on social media. So I think that's the challenge that you've got to have. If you're a faceless organisation, if you're just a logo, then you've got to bring a entity to it and a personality to that. And I would say that's through the people who work in your organisation, championing your brand, having community people actually promoting what you're doing. One of the great ways that could work well for social media is actually championing some of the tenants within the community who are model tenants, if you like, who are using the online payment system that's new or are organising the latest community event, and actually getting them to put the content out, recording them to do it, and then pushing that content out. Is then people like to get messages from people within their own circles, and that could be a way of getting over that faceless organisation challenge.
Well, that is just what I wanted to hear, Richard. I mean, I know how powerful a tool it can be, but many are struggling to find the ways to use it properly. And I think those few words that you've given there are just an example of how wonderful it can be.